Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Unfiltered with Paige Royal. And this week we're talking about, or not this week, because I'm doing these 3 times a week, but this time we're talking about what I tried before I found what worked. And so we're going to go through things. I do have some notes here because it's a lot. Before I found the thing that actually worked and changed everything for me, I tried a lot of things. I wouldn't say that I tried everything because I think we both know, or all of us know, that there's a lot of things out there to be tried, right? So I'm going to give you sort of a list. I'm going to share with you little tidbits of what I think about some of these things from my own perspective. And so the first thing I did, so when I moved home, so last week we just talked about like how everything was upside down, right? Everything was chaos. And I realized I can't keep going like this. It's just I'm done and I can't, if I could figure this out on my own, I would have by now. And I need some help, right? So I my mom had said to me, like, why don't you try this thing? It's called mindfulness meditation. So I went to this place every week. I think it was every Sunday. And that was the first time that I really learned to meditate. It was really, really difficult to meditate just because my mind was so loud that when I got quiet, it felt like almost unbearably uncomfortable, but that actually really helped when I went to learn how to do it. And I was actually in a group of people doing it because I wasn't just at home by myself. There was someone actually guiding the process. And it was really cool because that's when I started to feel energy going through my body, like going through my hands. And I didn't know at the time that I work with energy. Now I do. Um, but I would say to the guy, I was just like, my when I have my hands on my lap when I'm meditating, I can't tell the beginning and the end of my fingers and my hands. And he was like, have you ever thought about doing Reiki? And I was like, no, no. And so anyway, so of course, then I tried Reiki, not to learn, but just to receive. And then I tried talk therapy. I tried psychotherapy. I hired several coaches. And the thing about that was that there was kind of two things going on here at this time. It was like, okay, I want to quit my job. I want to go all in my business. I know my business isn't sustainable. And I know that I'm really insecure in this business. I don't know. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted someone to tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so then that's kind of the premise of how I started hiring coaches and the programs and the courses that I bought and the freebies that I opted into, all of that. And then there was this other part of me that was the personal part that I had to deal with the family stuff, my health issues, my career, right? What else? My relationship, um, all of those things, right? And so there was like everything was happening all at once. And the problem is that I was trying so hard to work on the business thing because I thought that that would fix everything. So if I just got a marketing coach, if I just did the courses and the programs and blah, blah, blah. But the problem was that I kept getting in my own way because I didn't have the confidence and I didn't have the like basically the confidence and the belief in myself that I could actually do it. So I would keep putting roadblocks. I would keep self-sabotaging. And like, how did I sabotage things? Well, I put everything in front of it. I would come up with all the reasons why I couldn't do something. But this was all a part of the process for me. And so we got mindfulness, we got Reiki, we got a meditation, talk therapy, coaching, psychotherapy, and then plant medicine. And had tried, it was actually kind of flippantly. Someone said, hey, do you want to go do ayahuasca? And I was just like, sure. And and I had no idea like what, that is something that can help some people. For me personally, and I'll talk about this more in other videos, I just don't, I'll never do plant medicine ever again. Like I can easily say that now. I've tried it. I indulged a little bit, not indulged, but I did try it. Um, over the like not in the last like 8 months or whatever, but I did try it like in Costa Rica. And yeah, I after I've come out of, and this is a whole other story that I'm going to be talking about, 82 videos. Um, I just, it's not for me, right? I know that it's very healing for some other people. It's just not for me. And um, so yeah, so that was like some of the things that I tried. I'm sure there's more. Oh yeah, I did affirmations. I did that. But I realized affirmations, it's like when you have like limiting beliefs inside you, affirmations can be really hard. And people say, fake it till you make it. Just do it until you believe it or whatever. So yeah, I did an affirmation for, I think it was in 2011. I started telling myself, because I did not think that I was beautiful at that time. Like this is going back a little bit earlier. And I thought, I found this book by Louise Hay, and she talked about all these affirmations. And I thought, amazing, I'm going to start saying affirmations to myself all the time. And so I did. But then I realized an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with all the affirmations, I'm just not going to do that every day, even though they're taped on every mirror in my condo at that time. And so then I started saying the one because I used to look in the mirror and I would say the most horrible things about myself to myself. And so then I just started saying, okay, I know you don't believe this right now, but we're just going to say it. Every time you come to a mirror, which my place was full of mirrors, you're just going to say, I am beautiful. And so I did that. And took me about a year and a half before I remember being in this apartment just before I was leaving Vancouver, selling everything, coming to Central America, and for a few months, right? And I remember looking in the mirror and I just kind of caught my eye and I said it and I was like, oh, I knew I believed it, and I was like, okay, affirmations work. It took 18 months, but they actually do work after a long time if you can stay committed for that. Um, I also, one of the things that really moved the needle forward on me that I think is still the most underestimated tool that is totally free out there is gratitude. What are you grateful for? Or what went well in your day? If you can just come up with three things every day, I literally did that. It started off as a 30-day challenge for me. And I could not believe what happened in those 30 days. Like I was so nervous to start that because I was afraid that I was in such a rut. I was just at that bottom where I was like, I don't even think I can find one thing to be grateful for. But I thought to myself, you know what? What do I have to lose at this point? I've got nothing to lose, right? I mean, I'm on the trajectory of losing everything. So, like, there's nothing to lose here. And when I started focusing on that, I thought, okay, just do it in the car when you're driving down the highway. And I started doing that. And after 30 days, I was like, whoa, I felt so much better comparatively. And I thought I'm just going to keep going with this and see what happens. And I ended up doing 265 days. And I know this because I posted what helped me stay accountable was to post it on Facebook every day. And coming from someone who cared too much about what other people thought, after 30 days, it was so profound for me that I just didn't care because I knew that that was going to keep me accountable. And if people unfriended me, unfollowed me, or whatever it was that they did, whatever, I knew that I was on the trajectory of going this way instead, right? Interesting how that happens. And so, what else would I have done? I started incorporating it into my business, and getting other people on board, doing this kind of thing. And so, yeah, so all of it helped. All of the coaches, the psychotherapists, the plant medicine, I'm not sure about because I was just kind of having a fun experience, which turned out to be not so fun. Talk therapy, the meditation, the Reiki, the mindfulness. I was doing like massage and physiotherapy, specifically intramuscular stimulation. Huge fan of that. Carolyn, I know it's like I'm giving her a shout out here. Who knows if she'll watch this? But anyway, like just some of the things that really, really worked well. And all of it helped, right? Like I'm so grateful for all these people because the mind chatter was so loud. I was just like, I've got to talk to someone who's out of my immediate circle, who doesn't know my life, who doesn't know me, who doesn't know any of these people, where I can just like let it rip, you know, and just have some guidance. So Jill, she was one of the one of the big ones that was so transformative. And I put up boundaries at that time. Um, and those were really challenging because I put up a really strong boundary with my mom at that time. And so all of it helped, but the problem always came back, right? It was like I moved the needle slightly forward, but it wasn't where I wanted or needed it to be in order to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, right? So the mental chatter was still there. The I would just get triggered. And what I mean, because people have asked me what triggered means, it just means like you have like an adverse emotional reaction to something, and you don't necessarily do it outwards, but you'll do it internally, and it can sometimes be visceral. And then you won't necessarily say anything in that moment because you're too nervous to, but then you'll ruminate on it and all those kinds of things. And what was really became apparent was I started seeing, I was aware enough that I started seeing the same pattern. Like I started seeing a pattern that I would repeat. And it's like, oh, I've done this before. You know, like this isn't my first rodeo with this particular problem. Not only have I done this before in, let's say for example, my health, I've actually ran this pattern in my career, my friendships, all my relationships. All of that, you know? So you start to see these familiar things, but I'm like, even though I saw the loop or the pattern, I didn't know how to fix it, you know? I'm like, but I gotta figure this out. And what was so cool about my cycling and nutrition business, and this is why I always say to take action, you know, just do the little thing because you get clarity from it. And my cycling business, like I would like if I hadn't have gone forward with that, even as insecure as I was, if I hadn't have moved forward with that, it wouldn't have connected the dots where what I was seeing in the women, because I observe, right? I observe people. That's my job. It's what I do. I listen to the things that they're not telling me, that they're not saying, and they're not admitting to themselves. Every one of my clients tells me exactly what's going on, and they don't know they're doing it. And so what I started seeing was these women, and I'm like, they all are talking shit to themselves. Like they're being horrible to themselves. And I'm like, huh, so am I. I'd be out in a ride with all the guys, and then I would start, you know, going up a hill and I'd start this whole ruminating, or I'd turn a corner and see a hill and I'd be like, oh God, you know, here we go. You know, I'm fast on the flats and the downhills, but get me on the hill and these guys blow me out of the water. So that really helped me realize like that I needed to figure out my own mindset, and that once I figured out how to, you know, work with my emotions and what was going on up here, then I could help these women in my cycling business, right? um what else I've got here? Yeah, so I just talked about the same patterns. I could see repeating, I was repeating the same things and I just didn't know how to change it. Um, but what I didn't know through all of these modalities and everything is a lot of people will say that they work with the unconscious mind. They don't. Until you really know what it's like to firstly experience it, and secondly do it like with other people, like you're not doing it for them but you're doing it together. um so all of the things that I had tried prior were working with like on the surface level. Like you've got this problem, I want to make more money. So then you go out and you try and find a marketing coach or a sales strategist or whatever it is to help you make more money. When really the likely problem is it's a mindset problem. You've got a belief that's having you say those words, but it goes much deeper than that. And at that time, I just didn't know. I didn't know that that's how it works, you know? So none of these things were really addressing the root cause of what was going on. And the root cause, which I'll talk about more later, which people, you know, my people are not the people who are scared of this. I'll tell you that, because you've got to be willing to go back to the past. You don't have to relive it like some of the other modalities have you do. You just have to say the story that's linked to the thing, you know? And sometimes you don't even have to say it. We don't, there's no, what is it that we say? There's no content and content worth knowing, right? So you've lived your past. I've lived my past over and over and over and over again in our own minds. And so going over it and over and over it for like 20 years, like I've met people who have been in therapy for 20 years. 20 years. I'll tell you what, I do not want to be working with anyone for 20 years. You know, like I I want to work with someone for 3 months, sometimes even shorter than that. It can be 2 days, but 3 months to a year deeply. And then after that, it's maintenance, right? Because this kind of work is not like one and done. You know, this is something that you work on all the time. And also, not everybody has to do this work, right? Because some of us are not super emotional. Some of us are not like what I would call an empath, you know, taking on the energies of other people. Ooh, feeling really relaxed right now. You know, all those kinds of things, right? But for those of us that are sensitive and would, you know, think of ourselves like taking on other people's emotions and caring about what other people think and feeling judged, and God, the list goes on. The mental noise that goes on, the record, like it's kind of like a tape recorder that goes, because I remember there was one I used to say all the time to myself, and it was like, I'm an awful person. I'm an awful person. And I could not make it stop. And that's a limiting belief, my friends. And that's just where I was at, right? And so let me just have a look here to see if I've covered everything. Yeah, so just all this to say that none of it was really addressing the actual root cause, like the unconscious program that was running the show. And when I talk about the unconscious program, and I will talk more about this, is that we all have one. I hate to say it. Now, there isn't one person in this world who does not have unconscious programming going on. And it's because things get passed, like when we really think about it, when we're a baby, we're listening and feeling and absorbing everything that's going on around us. And we're doing that for a really long time, but it's really, really, what do you say, like impactful for ourselves when we're that small up until about 7 years old. And not only that, it's when we're in the womb as well, we can sense what's going on around us. And then when you think about it, the people that you're absorbing from, so the people that you spent the most time with, even teachers, so I love working with teachers, they are very influential on younger people. Their belief systems, their values, all of that gets imprinted on us from a very young age. So our parents or whoever were our legal guardians, all of that, you know, if you went to church or something like that, it would be whoever's running that. And all these things, people that we spend the most time with. But when you really think about it, where did those people learn those things? Well, they learned them from their parents. And where did those, and whoever they spent the most time with, and then where did they learn them? So things get passed down for generations, you know, like I remember I used to worry all the time. I don't really worry anymore. But worrying in my family was like a rite of passage. If you didn't worry, you didn't care. It was like worry. It wasn't like people thought of it that way, but you thought like, if I worry about them for them, then it shows that they care, that I care about them. And it was just a really convoluted way to go about it, you know? Um, and so this is the whole thing with the unconscious mind. Like this is where the programming happens, and it happens for every single one of us humans. It doesn't have any rules around who it touches and who it doesn't touch. It's everyone because we're all growing up and we all have those implantation years, you know? Um, what else do I have here? I think I covered pretty much everything here. So what I tried before I found what worked. And so that was like the laundry list. I'm sure there's more, but those are the ones that stood out off the top of my head. And, you know, just realizing that these things helped, but the problem always came back. You know, I would move the needle forward, and it wasn't like I was going right back to where I was, but the chatter, you know, the outbursts, the emotions, just the emotions that I felt, um all like were still there, you know. And I just really didn't know that I was working on the surface level because you just don't know these things until you know them, right? And what was really great was when I actually found the thing that worked, I was like, it changed my life. And I will get into it more, but like, let's just say, like, overnight doing what it was I did release work, a wart I had had for oh, I had it since I was like around 15 years old. And when I did this work, I think I was around 41. So whatever that is, what is it, 25 years or something? I had this work for, and overnight it disappeared and never came back. Because if it did, it would be right there. And it didn't. And then another one disappeared here, and I don't have any anymore. You know, and all of that was an event which I will share with you once we get into the particular ones, the particular releases that I did on the specific areas. I'm going to share on all those upcoming. Um, and yeah, so on this next video, I'm going to talk about the leap. So here I am in this place. You know, at this point, I had tried all of these things that I talked about today. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. And so I'm going to talk about the leap on the next video. And it's a really exciting one because it's the one like that people are like, you did what? And I'm like, I never thought anything of it. You know, I was just like living my life. I've kind of always colored outside the lines, so to speak, you know, march to the beat of my own drum. And and yeah, so we're going to talk about the leap. And then the following week, we're going to talk about the weekend that changed everything. And so that's when I found what actually works. And that was a process. And then after that, the real transformation started to begin. And it is literally, you know, because the next video after that is why I do what I do. It's because I experienced it firsthand. And it literally changed the trajectory of my life. I mean, it's what I do now, right? So anyway, I hope this was well, again, I always say I hope this was, and it's like it is what it is. This is my story. This is what I did. These are my thoughts on these things. And if you have any questions at all, or any like anything, any questions like as I go along in these videos that you're like, I don't understand this, or I don't know what you mean by this word, or can you like do a video on this specifically so I can really get it? I am like more than happy to do those things because I, that's what I do. I love to share. So so anyway, I hope that you have an amazing, because it is, well, this is going to be a timeless, so I'm going to stop that, but I hope you have an amazing rest of your day or your evening. If you're going into your weekend, have like I am, have a great weekend. If you're in the middle of your week, have a great week. I'm going to love yous and leave yous. Mwah.